Hey investor friends, I'm Michelle Markey, and along my personal finance and investing journey, it's been reassuring for me to learn that women can be not only good investors, but can even outperform men as investors, as is evidenced by recent articles from Forbes where they talk about why women are better investors, or from Market Watch where they said that women tend to freak out less over their investments than men. And as mansplained by the New York Times, they cited a 2021 Fidelity study on women and investing and found that women still outperform men on average by 0.4% per year. And that's a pretty good finding, but despite this fact that women can be pretty good investors, not enough women are investing, and I'll talk about why that is and what you can do about it, whether you're a woman or man, because the more that women feel confident about their ability to invest and manage their personal finances, the more that financial well-being will spread across an entire society. And if you also love this idea and want to encourage more women to invest, I'd love if you could please like and subscribe to my video and YouTube channel, because that's what I'm here to do, is to help us be the best investors we can be, and I greatly appreciate it, so thanks. That 2021 Fidelity study looked at over 5 million client accounts from the last 10 years and included IRAs, 529 plans, and individual brokerage accounts, but not workplace plans like 401ks. And they found that the source of women's superior returns came from their lack of trading. And they found that men tended to trade 50% more than women did during the year. And this reinforces a 2017 study finding where Fidelity found that back then women also outperformed men by 0.4% per year. And that's been reconfirmed in 2021. And so we can see that women tend to sell themselves short when it comes to investing. And back in that 2017 study, only 9% of women believed that they could outperform men. But surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, by not trading too much and just buying and holding their investments for the long term, women can more than outperform men, and they can do it by enough of a percentage amount that matters and can make a significant difference over time. Like if both men and women start out with $10,000 and they invest at about 7% over 45 years, the women having a 0.4% increase of rate of return will actually get them to yield $35,000 more over 45 years than men would at that similar rate. So we can see that women can outperform men if they just try and want to learn more about investing. And the 2017 Fidelity survey revealed a lot about women's investing trends and habits, such as how the number one skill that women wish they had learned earlier in life is how to invest and to make the most of their money. And 90% of women want to learn about financial planning. And one of the keys to women's investing success is consistency, such as how on average annually women save 9% of their paychecks compared to men saving 8.6% of their paychecks, and how women tend to contribute to their IRAs and individual brokerage accounts 12.4% compared to men contributing 11.6% every year. So we can see that women in general are moving in the right direction of saving and investing more. And the 2021 Fidelity study update revealed where a lot of women are making great strides when it comes to investing, but also showing some areas where women feel a little bit held back, like they still need to catch up when it comes to managing their money and investments. And one good stat is where 67% of women are now investing outside of only retirement accounts, and that's up from 44% in 2018. And yet only a third of women see themselves as investors where they feel confident about their ability to make investment decisions, and only 42% of women feel confident about their ability to save for the long term, and only 14% of women feel like they know a lot about saving and investing. So clearly we have a ways to go, but at least things are trending up. Interestingly, women feel confident about being their household CFO and managing the day-to-day budget, but they feel less confident about long-term planning and investing. And some of the stats show that 75% of women feel confident about balancing a checkbook, 68% of women feel confident managing the household budget, 54% feel confident making a large purchase, but only 19% of women feel confident selecting investments that align with their goals, and 29% feel confident investing for short or medium-term goals, and 31% feel confident planning for financial needs in retirement. So we can see that there's this big gap between how women feel about their investing ability, and the reality is that they can actually be really good at managing money and budget. So they just have to inch a little bit closer to boosting their confidence in their ability to invest, because clearly women are already capable of handling budgets and dealing with money. So they just need to move one step closer to feeling that confidence that they can actually invest and everything will work out. Like, I know it can be a little bit scary and intimidating to try to learn about a bunch of investing terms and how to go about investing. But I think once people actually get into the weeds and actually perform and practice the investing motions, that they actually alleviate a lot of the fears that they might have once had. I've been noticing more women getting into investing, and I share my observations of some of the top women investors in one of my videos that you should check out. And Fidelity backs up this as well, where they said that since the events of 2020 unfolded, more millennial women have been leading the investing charge, where 71% of millennial women are investing outside of only retirement accounts, and 63% of women have become more interested in investing, and 54% say they have money to be able to invest with, and that's pretty great. But unfortunately, on the other end of the age spectrum, only 51% of boomer women increased their retirement portfolios with stocks, compared to 78% of boomer men doing so in the aftermath of the 2020 events. So clearly there's somewhat of a gap in generational approaches to investing, but nonetheless, we can still help out our mothers and other older women we care about by trying to point them out to ways that they can be financially secure. So with that, I also created a video about helping mom to thrive and be financially secure, so feel free to check that out. And nonetheless, education goes a long way in spurring action toward more women investing. Fidelity also found that 64% of women would like to be more active in their finances and in investing, and what's holding them back is up to 70% of women feel like in order to invest, they need to know how to pick individual stocks, and 65% of women feel like they'd be more likely to invest or to invest more if they had clear steps to do so. So for anyone who might feel this way, I highly recommend you pick up the book Invested by Danielle Town and her father Phil Town, and they go through the framework and investing approach of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, who are some of the best investors of all time, and they provide some really good real-life examples, like when Danielle Town invested in Whole Foods, and they also share some hypothetical examples with investing in a lemonade stand business or in real estate, and how you can apply these valuation methods to also picking stocks. So I highly recommend that you read this book, and hopefully you can adopt it into your own investing practice, because if there isn't an easy way to relate to some of the investing materials out there, I think that this book actually is highly relatable and easy to follow along with, and I got a lot out of it. And I've also created a playlist of videos dedicated to each chapter of this book that goes through investing in a month-by-month kind of way. And so if this would be helpful to you, I apply what I've learned in this Invested book to my own investing practice and try to also use some investing examples to help explain some of the concepts in this book as well. So I hope you'll get as much out of this book as I did. Even though some of the investing differences between men and women are kind of generalities, there are some truths we could learn from them, such as how some of the overconfidence that men have when they trade too much comes from the hormone testosterone, and that also can lead to having more greed and less fear. And then sometimes men can end up getting into bad and risky investments, and then they end up having more panic sales when the markets dive. And this is in contrast to women, where they might be taking a more calm approach and trying to carefully survey their investment options before they make a decision. So even though a lot of women have been generalized to be risk averse, they're actually just more risk aware, where they try to understand as much as they can. And the whole action of trying to invest is to invest in companies without having complete information, and that tends to be a little bit worrisome to women, because women have been socialized to try to achieve perfection, and when it comes to investing, we can never know every single thing there is to know. So we have to take a little bit of a leap of faith and gather as much evidence as we can to support our investment thesis, and then take an action as to invest or not to invest, and then try to monitor our investments to continue to see if the investment investment theory holds up, or if something has changed with the fundamentals of a business to indicate maybe that we should sell our stocks and move on to something else that might be a better investment prospect. But in general, the New York Times article also mentions how it can take a few minutes to learn the basics of how to invest or trade, but it can take decades to be successful at investing. And this is one thing that women and Warren Buffett have in common, is that they're willing to invest for the long term, more so than most typical men might. So that's one thing going for women, is if they can find it in themselves to try to invest steadily and calmly, that they'll be more likely to succeed over the long term. And this has also been reinforced by how Warren Buffett invests like a girl book, and I also have a video where I summarize what I learned from that book, so feel free to check that out too. Women are actually in a great position to be investors because they tend to plan with purpose and they think holistically when they're building out their financial plans, and they take into consideration their life goals for themselves and for their families, and they plan for the long term rather than just focusing on the short term or only focusing on investment performance in the short term. So with all of that, I actually think that Ellevest does a pretty good job as a robo-advisor that keeps in mind the kinds of plans that women have for themselves, whether it comes to starting a family or saving up for retirement or starting a business or buying a house and other kinds of financial goals that are really important to women. So feel free to check out my video where I reviewed my experience in using the Ellevest platform, and I happen to like being in a self-directed position of investing my own stocks, but I think Ellevest could be really helpful for anyone who wants to trust in a robo-advisor to invest on their behalf and to have their financial interests in mind. It's somewhat of a harsh reality that saving money alone is not enough because inflation is eating away the value of our money every day and reducing our dollar's purchasing power. So in order to combat this loss of money value, we need to be able to invest. And so I think women are well on their way to gaining the kind of education they need to feel empowered so they can make their own investment decisions and feel confident about their financial futures. And if you've enjoyed this video or learned something, please like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments if you have any questions or want to share any insights about your experience in investing or what you've observed from other women investors and what's working for them. I'd love to hear from you. Till next time.